It is my privilege to introduce Mr. Nathan Fletcher. While he's walking up here, because I know he's taking his time, I'll say that when we were advocating for no more cuts to education, Nathan was one of the only elected officials who actually came to Central Elementary, met our kids, and heard our story, and really listened and took action. So thank you for that.
Thank you. It's a privilege. It's an honor to be here. Donis didn't mention this is. I also 2 weeks ago had a fairly massive back surgery, and this is my first venture out into public since that time. Someone asked if I'm feeling any pain, and I said, if you're taking what I'm taking, you wouldn't be feeling anything. Those around me, though, who've been helping take care of me over the last few weeks as I kind of start recovering, are really glad I'm here, because it actually forced me to bathe. I shaved, I put on clothes that have buttons, and I'm doing good. So thank you. It's a tremendous honor to be with you. Donis did mention, I love teaching at UCSD. I had the honor of teaching her son, Joe. He took all 3 of my classes, made an A in all of them, volunteered on a campaign that lost, not because of his lack of effort. I actually, when I was teaching, I was first professor of practice there, and the dean came to me, and I have a whole course I do on the Voting Rights Act. It's one course just on the Voting Rights Act. Such a powerful subject and topic, and so relevant today. I have one I do on California politics and government, and then he came to me and he said, hey, we want you to teach a campaigns and elections course. I said, okay. And he said, we want to call it How to Win an Election. And I was like, you want me to teach that? And so we changed the title, and so the title is officially How to Win, and then in parentheses it says, or lose. An election, because I can teach you both, and I taught Joe both of those, and it is. I know so many of you through my time in public services. Cindy mentioned she called and said, I want you to come to Central, and it wasn't in the area that I represented, but she said, I just want you to see it, and I went for 2.5, 3 hours, and I went to the health clinic, and I went and I met with teachers, and I went and then we sat and we looked at the books. And she just showed me, this is what these things cost. And this is the money that we get. And so when we're told we'll just do more with less, well, we did that this year. We did more with less, and then we did more with less, and then we did more with less. Now, you tell me, what is it? What is it we're supposed to do? And it was a really, really impactful experience to go out and see it firsthand. And to walk the halls and to spend the time and to look at the programs and then to look at the math. And in a lot of ways it shaped how I thought about it. And I just think that was a tremendously impactful thing. And I think if more folks would do that, it would be better for the education system as a whole. And I don't, someone said, they said, hey, well, we're sorry, you left public service. And I said, well, I didn't. They said, we're sorry you chose to leave. I said, well, I didn't really choose to leave. I said, the voters chose to leave. But every now and then I'm reminded about the upside to it. I have an amazing life. I've got these great boys, and I have great friends, these great causes. But every now and then you have an experience that reminds you of how good it is to be a private citizen. And that happened not too long ago. I was at the gym, pre-surgery, working out, and it was early, about 5:30 in the morning. I had my hat on, I was kind of sweaty, had my earphones in. And a guy kind of looked at me, and he kind of gave me that familiar look. And I was kind of looked back, and he kind of waved, and I kind of waved back, and I thought, wow, maybe this is someone that voted for me. Maybe this was a supporter, I'm kind of feeling good. And so at one point I walk over to the water fountain, and he walks over and he said, I gotta ask. He said, anyone ever tell you look like that Nathan Fletcher guy? And yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm like, yeah, I bet this is a supporter. And I said, yeah, I get that sometimes. And he goes, it must really piss you off. That's why I heard he's all right. So sometimes I get recognized. The other thing, I don't always get recognized as a Marine. As Donis mentioned, very proud of my Marine service. Once a Marine, always a Marine. I did 10 years in the United States Marine Corps. And in the context of what the Marine Corps gave me and what I gave back, I never got even. I never got even. And I continue to try and help our veterans and the Marine Corps, but I was down at Marine Corps Recruit Depot a few years ago where I was on the board of directors, and I was walking to a meeting, and I don't care how long ago it was you served. If a drill instructor walks up to you, you tighten up a little bit. I mean, you tighten up. Like, you still get a little elevator, like, did I shave? Am I tucked in? Are my shoes shined? And a drill instructor walked up to me. I was lost. I was kind of wandering around trying to turn my map. And he came up and he said, "Excuse me, sir." He said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm lost. I'm trying to find this room." And he looked at me and he said, "Are you a Marine?" And I said, "Well, no longer on active or reserve status, but once a Marine, always a Marine." And this drill instructor with his high and tight, square jaw, perfect figure, he said, "Well, sir, if you're a Marine and you're lost, you must certainly be looking for the barbershop." So, you never know which way it'll go. But I am proud of the Marines. I'm proud of all the branches. My little brother's in the Navy. It's okay, there's always one Navy guy. I always ask him, I said, he would do this thing at dinner. He did this one time, actually. We're all at dinner, family dinner, we got a bunch of people, and he goes, "We created you." A little rivalry between the Marine Corps and the Navy, and he said, "We created you." He said, "You belong to us," which is actually true. The Marine Corps is in the Department of the Navy. And he kept going on and on and on. And finally I said, "Well, Jonathan," I said, "You ever told anyone why you created us?" He got real quiet. I said, "Because you were too chicken to get off the boat and fight." My brother's a pilot. He's a pilot, and he flies F-18s, and I'm really proud of him. But I do ask him, I don't know if you've ever been around pilots. Room full of 200 Navy people, you know how to tell who the pilots are? Yeah, don't worry, they'll tell you. I ask them all the time, I'm like, "How do you get that whole head inside the cockpit? Like, how does that actually work?" But I love my brother, I love the Navy. I actually come from a joint family. The three wise men who I started a Veterans Foundation. It's kind of telling their story. So Jeremy Wise, they were my closest friends growing up, my cousins. But we were like brothers, all five of us. Jeremy Wise, the oldest, we were about the same age. We were just best buddies all the way through. And Jeremy joined the Navy. He dropped out of medical school after September 11th, joined the Navy, became a Navy SEAL. His younger brother, Ben Wise, the second Wise man, was already in the Army, became a member of the legendary Green Berets. And that served. And then Baby Bo Wise, Baby Bo as we always call him, he brought it home strong and joined the Marines. And then you had me as a Marine and my brother as a fighter pilot. And so you can imagine two Marines, a pilot, a Navy SEAL, and a Green Beret. Those family flag football games were intense. I want to say for the record that my team won every time. But we estimate that we did about 3,000 days deployed in combat. Between the five of us and our family, and I appreciate everyone who served and everything else. I know we have some veterans. I'd actually like if the veterans or service members and their families would please stand who are here today and let us honor you for everything that you did. Those are folks who understand service. And so when Donna said, hey, we were talking about sharpening our focus on service, I thought what a better way to talk about service than through the lens of the military. But you don't have to serve in the military to understand service. But you do have to have that daily focus on making a difference, on doing good. And it's an easy topic to speak to in a room full of people who know exactly why they go to work every day. Because that's what you live. It's not speaking to a group where you're saying, hey, you need to find your service through a nonprofit or through a campaign or anything like I'm talking to a group of folks whose mission and calling every single day is getting up and providing that cornerstone of the American dream. Public education and quality public education is the foundation of the American dream. It is that basic belief that every single child, and I have lived all over the world, and there's something unique about the fact that every child, regardless of the color of their skin, regardless of their parents' educational level, regardless of their parents' income level, regardless of their immigration status, that every child in America deserves a quality K-12 public education. And that is the foundation that enables the entire American dream. That basic belief that you will be equipped with the tools. Now, you have to decide on your own if you're going to take those tools and use them, and to what extent. But that every child is given that same basic level of service. And I know this because I benefited from it. I grew up in a working class family. My stepdad, the only positive father figure I knew, was a factory worker. The Monday after he graduated high school, he showed up at the International Paper plant. He got his steel-toed boots, his union card, and he went to work. It was the same thing his dad had done. My mom, who's a social worker, she runs shelters for battered women and children. She dropped out of college after a semester. At the age of 19, she had what I've been told was a somewhat rambunctious child. Distracted her a little bit. She dropped out. Now, I am so proud of my mom because late last year she decided to go back to school. She's back in college. She's making straight A's. She's going to get a degree. I told her, Mom, I'm going to get a bumper sticker. It says, my mom is an honor roll student. I couldn't be prouder of her. I love her to death. But you know, that rambunctious child, he always knew that he was going to college. I always knew. My younger brother, he always knew. Because we had good teachers in a good school who gave us that foundation we needed. And when I look at my boys, ages 7 and 4, it changes. I talked about going to school. It changes how you think about it. When my boys started public school, it changes how you think about it. And you know what it's like for a parent because you worry about your kids. You want the best for them. You want them to be safe, you want them to be healthy, you want them to be happy, you want them to have opportunities. And my boy's in 2nd grade in San Diego Unified Public School in 2nd grade. My baby starts kindergarten next year. He's excited, he can't wait, he's excited. He's ready. I think he's ready to graduate. You talk to him, I'll tell you. But you know, you think about your kids, and when we talk about education, you realize that my boy only has this year to do 2nd grade. This is his only year to do 2nd grade. So he doesn't get to wait out a recession, right? He doesn't understand what a Prop 98 maintenance factor is. He doesn't understand a gas tax swap. He knows that this is 2nd grade. And if he doesn't get what he needs in 2nd grade, he won't be ready for 3rd grade. And if he's not ready for 3rd grade, you can't get him ready for 4th grade. They don't have additional years to wait. And so that, seeing it firsthand, made me very proud to stand with teachers, administrators, parents in support of Proposition 30 to ensure that we provided the funding you need every single year so you can do the job that you need to do. And this November, I'll be standing with you again as we support the extension of those funds because we have come way too far to turn back now. We have to make the investment and we have to make the commitment for what you do. The generation that's coming depend on us. It's a generation I think about a lot when I see people like Donis' son Joe, when I think about these young Marines who I served with, who I fought with. And for all the millennial bashing that takes place, I for one see a lot of positive in the students who are coming up today. I see it in particular, and I just want to talk for a minute about those who serve in uniform. And there's something different about the generation that's serving now. You know, if you watch a Marine Corps ad, the Marines are legendary for these amazing ads. I'm a little biased, I'll admit. But the Marine Corps ads of today don't say, hey, get money for college. There's no Marine Corps ad that says, hey, sign up and get money for college. There's no Marine Corps ad that says, see the world, and shows people playing basketball or doing things like that. The ads aren't even like they were when I joined. When I joined, the ads had a guy slaying a dragon. It said, you're probably not tough enough. We doubt you can make it. the few, the proud. Well, that appealed to me. It was very macho. I said, oh, I could do that. But the ads today shows a Marine running with other Marines. And then in the background, you hear a voice that say, there are those among us who run towards the sound of danger, towards the sound of oppression and tyranny. A New York Times article about the new generation of Marine Corps ads said it's designed to appeal to a generation who views military service as a way to help people. The ads show Marines delivering aid in humanitarian situations. It shows them building schools. It shows them helping people. And it's different. The generation today is different, and I think it's good. Really understanding this generation, I think, was best summed up. I was at a Memorial Day service, and a Marine general was talking, and he had been at Marine Corps Air Station Miramar, not where he was based, but he was there, and they went out and they said, General, we have a plane that just landed. It has wounded Marines on it. Would you like to go out and greet the Marines? And the general said, oh, of course. So he walks out, and they lower the ramp, and the general walks up. And the first Marine he comes to is a young Lance Corporal, 19 years old. And he's laid out on his back, he's on a stretcher, and he had been wounded. An IED had blown up under his Humvee, and it damaged his legs and his back. And he was laid out on the stretcher, and the general walked up to him, and he said, son, he said, welcome home. He said, is there anything I can do? Now, for those of you who stood up for being in the military, you know if a general says, is there anything I can do, don't be shy. Like, generals can do things. Like, they can actually do things. I actually, my entire Marine Corps career, I carried the next higher rank in my pocket. Because I had heard a story, a general said, is there anything I can do? And the guy goes, yes, sir, I'd like to be a sergeant. The general's like, all right, here you go. And so just in case the general ever asks, is there anything I can do? Yes, sir, here, I'm ready. I got my next higher rank right here in my pocket. I'd like to be promoted. I went to airborne school, which is a real treat for Marines to be able to go. And I got there, and there's another Marine. I said, man, I know how I got here. How'd you get here? He said, well, the commandant said, hey, son, good job. Is there anything I can do? And I go, yes, sir, I'd like to go to airborne school. The general's like, Sergeant Major, get him orders to airborne school. But my point is, if a general says, is there anything I can do, now's your time. You say, hey, I want to be stationed in Hawaii. Right? I want better base housing. I want to be promoted. All right? You be shy. And the general said, is there anything I can do? And this kid said, yes, sir. You can help me walk off this plane. And the general said, what do you mean, son? And the kid said, well, that doctor over there said I can't walk. He said, but I can walk. And he said, my family's out there, and I don't want them to think I'm hurt. He said, my buddies are out there, and I don't want them to doubt that I'm going to make a full recovery, and I don't want them to feel bad that they didn't, that I went through this and they didn't. And he said, you help me walk off this plane. And the general goes, well, you know, son, if the doctor said, and this 19-year-old Lance Corporal grabbed his lapel and said, no, sir, you said anything I want. And this is what I want. And the general put his arm on his shoulder, and he walked him down the ramp. That kid was in the 2nd grade on September 11th. He signed up knowing exactly what he was signing up for. It's an all-volunteer force, first time in American history, that is smarter, is better educated, is more committed, is stronger than any generation that's ever served our country before. And that general said they are an exceptional generation. And I think that's right. They go for different reasons, the different service. And there's a lot that the exceptional generation in the military can teach us all. One thing, it teaches how to be on time. Now I know, it's used to annoy me, the battalion commander would say, I want everyone there at 7 a.m. And then the company commander would go, well, we don't want to be late, we tell them 6:30. And then you get to the platoon commander, well, I don't want to be late. By the time it got to me, I'm there at like 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, when is this thing gonna start? Right? You should hire veterans. They'll be on time. They can teach you a great perspective on life. I'll never forget being on a conference call. The problem had come up, and I said, oh, we got a crisis. Everything's a crisis today. It's a crisis. I said, how many people are dead? How many are bleeding out of their ears? How many Humvees are on fire? Are you stuck in a minefield? Are you taking mortars, small arms fire? Because that was a crisis. That's a crisis. I've been there. And you know what? We didn't flail about. We didn't yell and scream. We didn't freak out. We looked at all the information. We made the best possible decision we could. As we got new information, we made a new decision. And I think a lot of times we could use a little dose of perspective. Nobody's dying. We can figure this out. I was trying to get a Navy corpsman a job at a technology company, and I was relaying the story of being outside Fallujah in a firefight, rocket propelled grenades going, small arms fire. We had a kid struck in the neck, and I said, this 19-year-old Navy corpsman did a full tracheotomy in a ditch. The bullets flying, and we just saved his life. That the kid was dead, saved his life. And just like it was nothing. And the guy said, well, yeah, I don't understand, we're a technology company. How does that help us? And I said, if your email server goes down, you won't freak out. He's like, I got this. I think there's a lot we can learn about perspective from the exceptional generation. I think there's a lot we can understand about getting the job done. You know, never in my life as a Marine did I ever think it would be okay to go back to my commanding officer and say, hey, I know you told me to do it, but it was hard. You wouldn't do that. Like, you know, I know I was supposed to, but, you know, maybe tomorrow. Yeah, you just get it done. You just get it done. And we need a little bit of that get it done. We've had the two most least productive Congresses in the history of America have been the last two. The people told them to get it done, and they said, maybe the next president. The U.S. Congress used to be 75% veterans. Today, 75% of them never wore the uniform. I think that there could be a coincidence. We've seen problems with racial strife across America. But it was the United States military that 16 years before the Civil Rights Act integrated, 16 years before the Civil Rights Act, the American military integrated. And to this day, if you see a racially diverse table of folks, you can probably guess they're in the military. We've seen problems across America in places like Indiana and others of accepting those regardless of their sexual orientation. And remember, in the run-up to Don't Ask, Don't Tell, people said, oh, the world will end, Marines will die, everyone will leave the military. But that's not what happened. Because as veterans, we view you on who you are as a person. Color of your skin's irrelevant. The Marines, we said, we're all green. We're all green. And the United States military implemented the end of Don't Ask, Don't Tell without a single disciplinary issue, not one. Not one problem. Because what matters is who you are and your commitment, and that willingness to give your life for your country. We see problems of equal pay. Women continue to work for less money than men doing the same job. Often doing the same job better, and they get paid less. But the only two places in America where men and women get paid the same for the same work is a union contract and the United States military. The only two. And lastly, the thing I think we can learn from the exceptional generation is the notion of taking care of your people. You know, in the Marines, we had a basic policy that said officers eat last. You actually get in line by rank. The highest ranking people eat last. Because if you run out of food, you make sure those who are underneath you are taken care of. I think Wall Street could learn a little bit from the exceptional generation. Simon Sinek, in a great TED Talk, he said in the military, they give medals to people who sacrifice themselves for others. And on Wall Street, they give bonuses to people who sacrifice others for themselves. That's the essence of service. You're willing to sacrifice your own good for others. We have a generation that's done that, and now they need our help. Between 22 and 50 veterans a day commit suicide. Think of the mom or the husband, the wife, the brother, the sister, whose loved one survived combat. They had a joyous reunion, and then they get the call that said, although they survived combat, they couldn't survive the peaceful home. There's a sense of isolation. It used to be 10% served in uniform. It's now less than 1%. In past wars, we all went to war together. You bought war bonds. People went to work in the factory. In these wars, our leaders said, go to the mall. Get on an airplane. Go shopping. You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to participate. You don't have to sacrifice. We got this 1% that's going to go and do it. And so we'd see on the walls in Iraq, America didn't go to war. Marine Corps went to war. America went to the mall because the public wasn't asked to join in. And simply put, in so many ways, we're failing those who did everything we asked them to do. And if the U.S. government has the moral authority to send young men and women to war, they have the moral obligation to make sure they're cared for when they come back. And if they have the money to send them to war, then they can find the money to take care of them when they come back. I think about my friends every day. Those who didn't make it back, those who made it back but are never the same. I think about the three wise men. If you saw the movie Zero Dark 30, there's a scene in the movie where they bake a cake for a Jordanian source who's coming on base to give him information about the supposed location of bin Laden or Al-Qaeda. And there's a Navy SEAL who says, hey, we need to search this person at the gate who's providing security. We have these procedures for a reason. Well, in real life, that was my cousin Jeremy. December 30th, 2009, Jeremy Wise was killed at Coast, Afghanistan. A suicide bomber. Jeremy was running around the car. He recognized what was going on. He was a foot and a half from the guy when he detonated himself. Killed Jeremy and 6 others. Jeremy died running towards a zone of danger. I spent a lot of time with Ben because Ben viewed me, Jeremy and I were the oldest. And so Ben viewed me like Jeremy, I was the oldest. And I said, hey, you've got to step up now. Your family's counting on you, they're struggling, you're the oldest now. You know, you gotta take that load that Jeremy carried and you gotta do it. I mentored him, I helped him, and he did great. For 2 years and 12 days. And then Ben charged into a cave in Afghanistan, chasing the terrorists. He ran towards the sound of danger, but he never came out. Ben Wise was killed in Afghanistan. When you leave for a deployment, you fill out some forms and you put your preference for how you want things to be done in the event you don't come back. And when we opened Ben's forms, he said he wanted to be buried in a service uniforms right next to his brother. Jeremy and Ben are gone. I think about them every day. They represent that generation who gave that last full measure of devotion. They gave everything they had. But they're gone. I can't bring them back. I can tell their story and hope that people understand the sacrifice that so many make. I can remember them. I can live my life in a way that honors that they didn't get to live theirs. But they're gone. But Bo Wise, that third wise man, Bo Wise is still here. He's still here. And that's who we fight for every day. The Bo Wises of the world. And I started the Three Wise Men Veterans Foundation to go out and fight and advocate for those who made it home. Who just need some folks to stand with them. They don't need charity. They don't need baseball tickets. They need the basic things. We advocate for good public policy to make sure that their mental health issues, the unseen wounds of war, are taken as seriously as those we see. We fight to make sure that even though they feel isolated, they know that there's a community of folks who stand with them. We fight to make sure Congress does the right thing. A Congress that has no problem spending a lot of money to send them to war, but they feel that same sense of obligation when they come back. We fight to tell the public that post-traumatic stress is no different than diabetes. Unless you have a policy that you wouldn't hire a diabetic, you better not discriminate against a veteran. Because mental health is no different than physical health. We fight to tell veterans it's not post-traumatic stress, it's post-traumatic growth. Because of what you went through, you're more compassionate, you're more caring, you're more loving, you're more passionate, you'll do better. We fight to tell them we're all in this together. I mentioned in closing that in the balance of what the Marine Corps gave me and what I gave it, I didn't get back even, and so I worked daily to try and repay that debt. But also in the balance of what America gave me. A great education. Son of a factory worker and a social worker who has had unbelievable and amazing opportunities in life. And what I gave back, I still haven't got even. All of us did. And that's why we're here today, sharpening our focus on service. Because in the day-to-day grind, it's easy to forget the importance of what you do. It's easy to get irritated and frustrated and mad at your coworker and mad at the system and mad at someone who said something online. And it's easy to lose sight of the very real and vital role you do, because this isn't just about veterans. This is about the next generation. A generation that we want to strive to not only be educated, but to be committed to a world with more opportunities. Freer, fairer, more just. And standing here today, I see why I feel so optimistic in the future of America. My students are ready to tackle the world. They're committed, they're passionate, they're loving. And looking out at each of you, I understand why. Because they have committed folks who dedicate their lives to making the future of America better. Thank you very, very much for having me join me today. It's been a tremendous honor.